Hi, Paul. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. You're a multi-award-winning producer and screenwriter with 135 international awards to your name, including 65 for your screenplays alone, which is very impressive. So I'd mostly like to speak to you about your film On Par, and I know it's a topic that's very close to your heart. So can you just tell everyone what it's about, what inspired you to write it, and what makes you think it will be a successful film?
Well, thank you, Gabby. It's nice to be speaking to you. Yes, I have been in the industry for 10 years. In that time, we have developed 12 screenplays that are ready to go into production. I've made 8 movies in that time. Uh, Two of the movies particularly won a lot of awards, and the film that we're discussing today, On Par, is probably the closest to my heart because the inspiration from it came from my 19-year-old son, Lucas, who came out on one of the social media platforms looking slightly disheveled and made an apology for not being in contact with his friends, not conversing with them, and admitting that he suffered from severe mental health issues, in particular severe anxiety and depression. And it's something personally that I lived with when I was a kid with my mother who suffered from depression, and it's something that affects a lot of people. It's something that's widely misunderstood, as are other mental health disorders, and to a certain extent, until very recently, has been something people have been embarrassed to talk about, particularly young people. And I think now the world is starting to grasp, following COVID, following the pressure that's been put on everybody, especially young people who have not been able to see their girlfriends and boyfriends, not being able to take their exams, not being able to go out, sometimes confined in small spaces with other people. There has been a lot of problems with mental health, and the system in the UK definitely isn't coping with it. So that was really my inspiration. Also, my son, in his spare time, is a rapper. He's a very beautiful boy, and you wouldn't know by looking at him that there was something wrong with him. It's what I call an invisible illness.
Thank you. So you mentioned that the lead character struggles with a lot of mental health issues. So can you describe what frustrations he may encounter and whether he manages to get that support, whether that be from family or mental health services?
Well, I think firstly, what I want to say, Gabby, is that this isn't a documentary. It's a feature film movie, as the Americans call it. So we want it to be engaging. We want the characters to have a journey, and we want there to be a point to the movie. And we want the audience to feel emotionally for what's going on and identify with the characters. Now, the lead character, as I mentioned, is a rapper. On Par is a golfing term. His stepfather, who he does not get on with at all, is the owner of the local golf club. He's quite a wealthy man. But On Par is also an acronym for Rap On. So the soundtrack for the movie and the lead song, which has been written and sung by one of the people in the movie, is called Hell on Earth. And it's that person's difficulty with getting through from one day to another. And it can affect anybody. And this is the issue. In terms of the movie itself, it's a powerful love story between a young 19-year-old boy who meets a girl in a very hardened school in London, having been kicked out of private school for having dyslexia, although that's not something a private school would admit, another invisible illness. He moves into the new school and he gets caught between two gangs, two rival gangs, a black gang and an Albanian gang. And the girl that he meets is the younger sister of the Albanian gang. So it's got elements of the famous film West Side Story, elements of Romeo and Juliet. And I believe when you're writing, you copy success. And if you duplicate success but put your own spin on it, something Quentin Tarantino and I discussed about 4 or 5 years ago when we were in Cannes, you create another movie, the screenplay that resonates with people and has the best elements from very successful films, although it's independent in its own right. And I think that's what I tried to achieve with On Par. And the proof in the pudding is that it's won 20 international film screenplay best awards, including Los Angeles, the New York Independent Film Festival, the London Independent Film Festival, the big festivals, where they have 1,000 to 1,500 screenplays, and it's coming first, which I'm very proud of.
You should be. And I think there's so many important topics that are very relevant to young people today. So beyond anxiety and depression, what other invisible problems do youth face in the world that we live in today, and how does the film represent that?
Well, I mean, myself, I face problems just like anybody else does. We're living in a very difficult world at the moment. We are witnessing people that have these fantastic lifestyles, but not everyone has those fantastic lifestyles. And sometimes it feels like the government isn't really taking care of people. In the UK, the National Health Service is stretched to the limit. Issues like mental health are sidelined. The professional help that's available is not really there. The idea of the film is to open up subject matters and social chat groups to talk about these issues and say there is a way of sorting this out and we will help. But the film predominantly is there to be an engaging, entertaining, love, teenage drama with an unbelievably good soundtrack. Now, a lot of people in the entertainment industry suffer from mental health disorders, from bipolarism to lack of confidence, to shyness, multiple personality disorder, dyslexia, anxiety, depression. But you cannot see these illnesses in somebody. They're not obvious. They don't have their arm in a sling. And so they need to talk to people about it. But the professional help is not always there, or it's not always affordable. And I think that's the issue. And there is a way of using this as a platform to help people. Prince William is running a campaign called Heads Together. I'm going to be linking with that campaign. It covers 8 mental health charities in the UK. So the idea is that we will use some of the soundtrack to attract some of the biggest artists in the world, artists like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, Eminem, and others to contribute to the soundtrack, and then use some of the profits from what will be a very profitable soundtrack to donate to Prince William's charity. Obviously, I hope to be interviewing Prince William at some stage as well. He's a friend of mine. So that should be very, very interesting. And it's good to support those type of causes. At the same time, I think there are movies that are comparable movies with this movie, like 8 Mile, which featured Eminem, a young rapper in a difficult world. Same sort of story here. The movie did 300 million at the box office. Romeo and Juliet was Leonardo DiCaprio. That love story is always an engaging thing to watch. Other gang movies, a lot of these movies glorify drug taking, alcohol abuse, gangs, bullying at school. What we've done in the screenplay is the reverse. We're trying to show that it's not good. It can end badly. We show a cardiac arrest at one of the parties of a young girl to frighten youngsters into not taking drugs. So it is socially responsible. The same with bullying at school. There is help there for people. Kids with gender identity, issues. There is support there. People that have problems at home, one-parent families. There are people that you can talk to. So it highlights the problems, but as I say, in an engaging, powerful, entertaining way. I think if I likened it to my good friend Thomas Keneally's book, which I have here with me, Tom wrote Schindler's Ark and won the Man Booker Prize. It's a very close friend of mine. That book was made into a movie, which I'm sure most of the investors will have heard of, called Schindler's List. Again, 300 million plus at the box office on a $20 million budget. That movie is engaging. It's a drama. It's one of the best movies of all time. To say it was entertaining, watch people suffering is sounds strange, but some of the most powerful movies and powerful songs of all time are tear-jerking songs. People like to get emotional, they like to have feelings, and it gets a message across. It gets them to think about what life is really about. And that's really what we're trying to do with the movie. Engage, entertain, make money for the investors based on comparable movies, eliminate any risk, and also do some good in the world.
Right. So Umpire sounds like a film that's going to get a lot of people talking. So what would the main message be that you'd want audiences to come out of the film with?
I think the main message would be good to your neighbor. Look at the lead character. He's suffering from depression. He's suffering from anxiety. He's struggling to get through the day, but he's the only one in the party that helps the girl when she's having a cardiac arrest. He's the only one that's trying to do the right thing, and others do follow suit. He befriends people when they need friendship. He protects the teachers when they need protecting. He's the anti-hero. He's the young Clint Eastwood in A Fistful of Dollars. He's a new style of hero, and it's a person that's struggling himself. So it's about being selfless. My opinion on the world, and I didn't want to really go into this, but is the world suffers from one problem, one major problem, and that is greed. And if people were less greedy and a little bit less narcissistic, less sociopathic perhaps, I think a lot of people would be able to help each other, and all of the problems in the world, conflict would be avoided. But I think the message is that, you know, there is hope with life. There are things that you can do, and there is more information to get, and it's out there and available, and we'll make that available to people. As for the movie itself, well, what do we want to achieve from the movie? We want people to be blown away and moved and feel for 2 hours whilst they're watching that movie. What a fabulous movie. You know, moving, tear-jerking, funny in parts, exciting, all the emotions we want to experience when we're having a good time within that 2 hours of escapism.
It's very powerful. It sounds like a wonderful film. So when covering such topics like mental health, how can you ensure that it is done authentically and sensitively within the film?
I think firstly, as I said, I've got personal experience of living with people with mental health problems, varying ones, personality disorders, bipolarism, clinical depression, but there are things that you can do which will make things better. Unfortunately, in most people, when they're not feeling great, they choose the thing to do which isn't great because they're not thinking straight. And that's when you need someone around you who can actually be there and say that this is not the right way to approach it. There's a different way. And I think that some of the medical authorities, not all of them, treat things with just pills and medicine. And sometimes that medicine is what's available to them or what's within their budget. It isn't always the right course of action. And I think that's what we need to highlight, not just for individuals, but also for the governments and the medical industries themselves.
So finally, can you explain what your intentions are with the film and where do you see its successes going?
Well, we've got the budget of the film at a sensible budget. Obviously, films can be made at various budgets, but I think the good news for investors that are getting involved in this is that we've just had a huge hike in film tax credits in the UK in the budget in March. Usually they're around 20 to 25%. Now they're up to 34%. So 34% of the budget will be recouped just through the film tax credits. We've also, with the cast that we are talking to, and it's not just a wish list, they're people that I've been talking to personally. I've been in America. I have a lot of close contacts in the film industry and in the music industry. I met with Kanye West's manager, John Monopoly. They obviously know 50 Cent and Eminem, who are the two of the guys that I would like to play the lead gang members. I have other actors lined up that I want to talk to. Ariana Grande, for example, she has something like 400 million followers on Instagram, and other top actors that I think would attract big audiences. So, you know, one, we are looking at mitigating the risk through tax credits and getting pre-sales on the film. And with the cast, what we're intending to do, we can do that. Two, we probably only need 30 to 40% maximum in private equity on the total budget. So that's very doable, but it means that we can be in profit extremely quickly. Three, we have the option of selling the film to a Netflix or an Apple TV or a Paramount Plus or an HBO. It's a very competitive market between these online distributors, and the best films get picked up for quite a lot more than the budget. With the tax credits, we're talking maybe 100 to 150% spread on the net cost and the final sale of the movie, if we go down that route following a short theatrical release. So I think the signs are very good. The film industry is very much a pyramid structure. So the people at the top make all the money and the people at the bottom do it because it's a passion. They're not always very good at doing it, but that's the same. I think you could compare that, and I think people will recognize that's appropriate in anything in sport. I played table tennis for England when I was a junior. I often got to the final or won the tournament, but there was often 200 people in the tournament. But the same people always got to the semi-finals and finals. It's the same in industry, it's the same in film, it's the same in any industry. And I think when you're at the top of the industry or you're working with the top people, you expect to get the best results. And I think that's the goal. The goal is to make a great movie. We already have written the synopsis for an 8-part television series as well. I'm sure we'll do a documentary on mental health, but I can see the film and our aim and my goal is to try and be as successful as the Romeo and Juliet film, as successful as the 8 Mile film, and to get these stars promoting the film, following the making of the film through all the red carpets events, and hopefully seeing some of the people involved investing in the film, some of the celebrity parties that we have in Leicester Square and some of the other destinations.
Well, thank you so much for speaking about, this film with me. It sounds very thoughtful, emotionally driven, and I'm almost certain many people would love to come and see it.
Thank you. Very nice to talk to you, Gabby. Thank you.
You too, thank you.
We just keep on going till we got nothing left, and you don't even notice, so let's head for the chest and open your heart. Yeah, that's the start for real. Heart of steel, hard to deal with the scars I feel. It's real, cause as I'm writing this verse, it's hell on earth, cause the head's worse. But first I need to converse the words.